Thank you for joining me. Today's video is very important. With high inflation running crazy throughout North America, we're now 7% in Canada, and I think the US is 8.3. That's insane inflation. So when we look at these high inflation numbers, it means buying a new guitar, be it an acoustic or whatever, is going to be more costly. So that opens up the market for buying a used guitar. And this video, we are going to talk about at least 6 or 7 items that you want to look for when buying a used guitar. I made a list of 29. We'll have to do some additional video on this later on, but in the meantime, let's get started. Now, the first thing I want you to note, number one, is when you open a case of a used guitar, look for a humidifier. I'm very big on guitars being properly humidified. If they're not humidified, it presents all kinds of problems. Now we're coming into the winter months, and that means dry air. So guitars need to be humidified during the winter for sure. Now that all is relative to where you live. For example, maybe in the southern states where it's warm, it's dry, you probably need to have a humidifier in there, unless you're in a humid area, in which case you want to take humidity out because you can over humidify a guitar. Oh man, the things that humidity does. At any rate, let's take a look at a second point. You've looked for the humidifier. If it's not there, the value of that guitar, for me, has decreased. Now, second point, the value of a used guitar is usually somewhere around 60 to 70% of its original value. And it depends. To get 70%, that guitar has to be in pristine condition. It has to be perfect. And otherwise, the value again drops even further. Now, point number 3, if the guitar is not humidified, you run into a real problem with a sinking top. Let me show you what happens using the guitar that we just finished making in our previous videos. So let me show you something down here at the bottom of this guitar. Now I have readjusted the camera in order for you to see this area in here. Now this is domed because we've done that in the radius dishes when we put on bracing earlier on when we were making this. If a guitar is not humidified, this whole area can sink down. So that's a real problem. Take a look at this. You should be able to see that. Now, that particular bar is straight across, and if you look at this, it goes back and forth. That means the dome is good and the guitar has been properly humidified. Look for that because it's important. The next point I want to bring up is the bridge. If this top sinks, that's going to separate here at the back of the bridge and lift the bridge up. So the tension from the strings is going to pull on this area at the back of the bridge. This is dropped down and it's lifting it. If you see a guitar like that, just understand that's a lot of work to fix, and you just may not want to be bothered doing that or taking that to somebody to have them fix it. It's just the way it is. All right, let me show you something else. Now the fourth thing I want to show you here is the next thing you want to do with this guitar is you want to take it and you want to hold it, put this down on your toe, and then take a look. Obviously, I'm at the workbench, and look down the neck here and look to see if there's any twisting in the neck here, if it's going this way or anything like that. While that can be repaired, that is huge work to fix that. I would personally not buy the guitar because it will buzz and it will not play well, and the sustain will probably be non-existent. And you can tell because you've got your strings form a straight line. So you can see here on the edge of the guitar whether or not it's running all the way down the back to the back here at the bridge, and whether or not there's any kind of twist to it. There you go. Make sure you check that. Now, the fifth thing I want you to do is I want you to just do a general inspection of the guitar. Look at it carefully, gently, with a fingernail. Just go back and forth like this. You'll feel if it's cracked. It will tell you. You want to be careful about that. Now, in the construction process of a guitar, if it's cracked, I can fix that. That's not a problem. But afterwards, it becomes a little more difficult because the finish is on it. Now, with a French polish finish, it's much easier to do because you can take off a little bit, you put a piece of tape on here, you put your CA glue in, you clamp it, you shut it, you sand it, and then you just touch it up with French polish. So that works quite well. Now, also, if the guitar hasn't been humidified properly, then the back here may show a split. Now, what I do in the guitars that I was taught to make, in the back here, the back has the bracing running all the way down. The top doesn't because it's crisscrossed, right? It's coming across here, it's coming across here, it runs across here like this. But underneath here, I put little triangle, it's a square on the corner so that it's diamond shape, if you will. And I put a couple of them in here just to bond this, to hold this together so that it can't split. That's what I do. I don't know if all guitar makers do that or not, but if not, maybe they should. So you're looking at the top here for any kind of splits. You're looking at the sides for any splitting. You're looking at the back for any splitting, and take your time to do that because you want to have a nice guitar and you're going to want to play it for a while. So you don't want this thing to be a wreck. Let's look at number 6. Number 6 is simply taking your hand and running it down the edge of the frets. The frets should be smooth. You should feel nothing when you come down here. If the frets are grabbing your finger and you think, oh, I think I just pulled some skin off my finger or something like that, what could be happening is the neck here, because of humidity, could be shrinking, exposing the actual fret, in which case you're going to have to go along with each one of these and sand them and or use a file to come in. Otherwise, they're going to mess your fingers when you come around like this to get around here and whatever you're doing. It's not going to play well for you on the hand side of things. So you want to be careful of that. And that's a real serious problem because it could also mean that the frets have lifted. And if the frets have lifted, then there may be glue in the slot or sawdust or junk, in which case it's not going to go right back down nice and even. If it's not that case, you may be able to clamp this and put a little CA glue along the side to hold it down. But that's something you really want to pay attention to. I like, when I'm making my guitar, before I've got to the string stage and I've got the frets all on and everything, I've come down here nicely and it's all smooth and sanded. I've filed every one of these fret edges. I take sandpaper, about a 400 grit, sometimes it's a higher grit than that, and I just come along here and I take a little bit of the edge off so that it just feels so smooth and it just comes around so nice and neat. So you want to look for that. Now, there's another thing you want to look for. This would be number 7, would be the tuners up in here. You want to be sure that they're tight. Check out the nut on each one of these, because if they're loose, you can tighten those without too much difficulty. The actual turning peg, this part here, may be loose, and there are screws in the ends of these, so you can just take that and tighten that gently with a screwdriver, and the key word there is gently. On the back, I don't know how I can show you this. On the back here, these have screws that are going in here and here, here, down in here, over there, down here. And that keeps these tuners from moving. Just check the screw that it hasn't backed off and just tighten it ever so slightly if that happens to be the case. That's not a problem. All right, so let's talk about number 8. Number 8 would be the actual wear on the frets. Most people are not paying attention to the frets, but if they get worn, then they will buzz. And so that's not a good thing. Check them to make sure they're nice and clean and that the fingerboard is clean. And number 9, when you look at the actual fingerboard, look for indentations in the fingerboard, because if they played the guitar a lot and they're hard on it, it could have pushed into the actual wood here and the material, and it could be kind of dished. So you want to look for that. That, to me, devalues the value of the guitar, because that's hard to fix. You may have to take the fingerboard off and replace it if you were really, really keen to do that. So that's again, that is a whole bunch of work to do that, to take that off. So you've got that to concern. Now, the other thing is, the guitar has to sound pleasing to you. Now, it's hard for me to even... You can... Is that okay? What I would do here for this particular test, I would detune this, and I would tune it back up again, and I would strum it gently. I want to hear the sustain. It could simply be the strings are dirty and need to be replaced. That's not a big deal. But does it go on and on and on? Are they dead? And then play each string all the way up, and do that for every string to see if there's any buzzing. If there's buzzing, that means it could be up here at the nut, up in here, or it could be down here, or it could be the frets have lifted. So it becomes a diagnostic thing, and then you have to look at doing something to fix that. So those are some of the things that I look for when I am thinking of a used guitar, and I hope that helps you. Now, there are more things, and I'll do another video, and I will explain some more about how you use a mirror, looking for cracks inside the guitar with the bracing. If it's got a glue joint, can you hear that? If it's broken, the answer is yes. So that's it for this video, but I hope that helps you. If you like this video, by all means, please subscribe and hit the like button. But if you've got a comment or two, if you've got a technique that I haven't mentioned yet, remember, I made a list of 29, so I may have it coming up in a subsequent video. By all means, send it along, and let's include your stuff. I'll give you credit for it. I'm not looking to be the guy that creates everything. I can't do that. But with your help, hey, we can come up with some really nice guitars for the future for all of us. So that's it. Those are things to look for when buying a used guitar. Now, the only thing left to do is to celebrate this with a cup of English breakfast tea. And I must say, I did watch the funeral for the Queen, and I have to say that when it comes to ceremonies and things of this, there is no country anywhere that can even come close to touching what the Brits do for their celebrations. They are amazing. Well done. And the Queen had a great life and was of great service to so many people here in Canada. And I hope you got to see that. So there you are. We're done. I'll see you in another video. Bye for now.